Welcome to the podcast Living Abroad. My name is Pumla Zita, and for the first time this week we are out. We're out of Zoom and we are in Calabash in town, one of the first African restaurants in Scotland. And we are interviewing Michaela. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. I made it.
That dark thing should be light in between the shadows, between the heaven and heaven. Are you willing to go to hell with me if the sky?
You can just introduce yourself and where you're born and where you grew up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Michaela Dene. I'm originally from Falls Church, Virginia. I grew up in Falls Church, Virginia. And I'm a Southern girl. And I now live in Scotland. I'm a singer-songwriter and a PhD student at the University of Glasgow, working in film also. So,
Yeah. And if you can just for me that we're talking like before, someone who's not been to America, and you only see what you see on social media. What was it really like growing up in America for you?
Well, okay, so I grew up in Virginia, in Falls Church, Virginia. My family is from Southern Virginia, so that's kind of like where I usually spend most of my time. I grew up in Falls Church, which is a very diverse town. So I grew up around people with a lot of different, nationalities. So like race wasn't really such a huge thing for me until I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and that's the Performing Arts High School in Washington D.C. And it's like the famous one that Dave Chappelle went to, and that is a majority black high school. And I went there, and people saw that I was a little bit lighter. They're like, something's going on with you. You might be mixed, you might be so I didn't really feel like not black until I went there, and that's kind of when I I was like, there's some issues. Like, I don't feel like black here, right? Because everybody was telling me I wasn't black because, I have like mixed culture and stuff. So that's kind of like what happened there. And then I went to Manhattan College in New York City, which is a PWI. Okay. It's a predominantly white institution. And then there I was like, I'm black. You know what I mean? Like, there I was like, because everybody was white. My freshman roommate told me like, oh, you're here because of affirmative action, and I always just felt like I was just like fighting my institution, so that was like a big reason. So that was like that. So like you're talking about like what you see on TV and stuff like cops shooting stuff, people and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean in Falls Church, Virginia, we do have a really good police department, mostly because it's a small town. Yeah. Fairfax County is a little bit different of a police department because it's a bigger town, but like in Falls Church City, they have really good police departments, so you don't really have that many issues of like getting shot in Falls Church City. No, it doesn't really happen there. Yeah.
Okay, so like if you explain to someone like how you meet race, so how is your family dynamic? Is it your mom or your father?
So I'm just like I don't like to use this word, but I am a bit of a mutt. You know what I mean? Because my grandmother is Irish.
White Irish.
White Irish. And my grandfather is mixed with Native American. I have a cousin who's from El Salvador. I have a cousin who's from Afghanistan. I have a lot of multicultural.
And your parents?
Both of my parents, I guess, are mixed in the way that like my mom is black and Irish and Native American, and my father, I don't really know that much about him. But but the thing is, it's like just in general, I think I consider myself to be Black American, but, with a little bit of spice, a little bit of
Irish.
Yeah, a little bit of, you know what I mean, a little bit of spice and whatever. I did one of those like DNA tests, whatever.
And what did you find out?
I found out that it's worse than I thought.
Wow. Worse?
But it's worse.
In a bad way, or worse
it's just like, I thought I was only 3 things or 2 things. Turned out I'm like 76, and I'm just like
76 different nationalities.
No, it's not actually, but it's like 20-something different nationalities or different mixes.
What are the top 10?
So the first is Irish.
The
second is English. The third is Cameroon, Nigeria. And then fourth is Scandinavian, and then Iberian coast. I found out I'm part from Thailand, which is
I don't think mine would be that diverse though.
It might
South
be
African.
though.
Yeah.
You would be surprised. Like I'm just saying, the only person who I've ever seen is 100% like African has been Oprah. That's the only person I've ever seen like on TV has been Oprah, and I was like,
100%. Yeah, but I think I'll be like 100%.
No, I don't think so. I think like the whole like colonialization and like
in
South
South
Africa,
Africa,
like I feel like there's some.
Could I be
There's some
English?
I feel it.
Some sort of like
I feel like
English.
there's some like English,
Wow.
some like snow bunny in you. I'm joking. But I don't know. We'll see.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know. So I'm just like a not that I have like one white parent, one black parent or whatever. But I just feel like my family is very like a diverse family.
Wow.
that's
So you have
cool.
sisters and brothers?
I don't have any sisters or brothers. No.
Oh, okay. So you're the only
Yeah,
child.
I'm the only child.
So I mean, like growing up. So you said like in high school, you feel like you're not. What we say, like blacking out.
I just feel like going with all these people who were black in Washington D.C. I just felt very like outcasted, and because I was feeling outcasted, I like took it upon myself to be like I have to stand alone. Like if you invite me someplace, I'm not going because I just felt very outcasted. And I think that like there were white people who were going to that school who were more accepted than I was, and it just kind of like frustrated me because I just wasn't what they would consider to be black.
Yeah.
So I just like that was a bigger issue for me. Yeah.
And now being in Manhattan.
Manhattan College. Oh
Yeah.
God. What do you want to say?
What was your experience?
My
there?
experience there was just like these people are racist. The thing is,
I mean, we laugh.
No, but
yeah.
but it's not funny. No, no, but like everybody, like I think has this idea that like Southern people are like really racist and like this, but I just don't like. Maybe because I'm biased and I grew up in the South, but I feel like Southern people, like whether you're white, black, Asian, whatever, like you're still Southern, right? And you grew up with that culture of like being. Like the Southern hospitality and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, if someone doesn't like you, right, I think that the racism is more like upfront, maybe, right? But I feel like there is still kind of like a Southern hospitality, kind of like that goes around with like being Southern. I feel like Northern people, some of them have never been around black people, or they had that one black basketball player at their school that they're like, okay, he's cool because he plays basketball. But like I just definitely just feel like. Was it
more like isolation, or it was like a brand like racism? People would come up and say things.
Well, I think it's both. I think it's the issue of the institutional racism in the university, because I think the university that I went to was just like not ready for someone who wasn't going to bend and like conform to what they thought a black person should be at their university. Like I wasn't just going to play ball. Like I wasn't going to play the game. I'm a black person. I'm very intelligent. My grades got me into the school, and I'm doing it extremely well.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just going to be that 100%. You know, I think you have a lot of like black people who went to that school who were like willing to conform and like, oh yeah, I'm not that black. I'm an Oreo. I'm black on the outside. I'm white on the inside.
Yeah.
It's like
just
no,
straight in my head.
No,
just,
no. I'm very, very black, and that's just how it's going to be, and I'm going to be intelligently black, and you have to deal with that, and that's just how it is. I'm paying tuition to go to the school.
Yeah.
And you should deal with that.
And when you're like that, you automatically aggressive.
The institution is going to come after you. Yeah, exactly.
So you finished that, and then you moved.
I worked a bit in New Zealand. I was working with a theater company called Massive Theater Company. And I did that right after graduation, and that was one of the best experiences of my life there. So that was like a good experience. And then after that, I got into school, my master's program in Paris. So I moved to Paris. I had already spent some time in Paris before, but then I just like decided to just move permanently. So yeah.
What was the reason? Like, it was more accepting.
Well, not really just more accepting. Like, race wasn't really a thought when I moved to Paris. It wasn't really on my mind, really. I was like expecting to go to university and have a good time. It was close to travel and things like that, so that was the main reason why I went there. I liked the program, but I wasn't really thinking about race in any way when I was going to Paris.
And I mean, like your braveness of moving around, and you're moving alone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to kind of like.
As a South African, most of the time, people like if you're born in the Eastern Cape, okay,
You're gonna die in the Eastern Cape.
yeah.
It's the same thing in Virginia.
Unless there's a job opportunity or whatever, people are moving to Cape Town now because of corruption and everything that's going on. So the schools are not being maintained in the villages. So people are moving maybe to the cities. And because a person from Eastern Cape is not going to move to Joburg. They're going to move to...
Where the job opportunity.
They're going to move to Cape Town.
Yeah.
And if you're from KZN, you're going to move to Joburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a result, there's not a lot of South Africans, even here in Scotland. You know?
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, the most I get is like people from Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So
There's
for
so
you,
many.
Yeah. So for you, like the braveness, or it's just like a culture thing, like for where you're from?
Well, I think Black Americans usually don't move out of the country that much. Like, it's not like a thing. There is like the historical thing of like an artist going and like leaving America and like, you know, creating their art, because there is a sense of freedom outside of America being Black American. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there just is. But I think that, you know, for me, I think growing up with my grandparents, my grandfather was a huge influence in me being like, you know, like, I've always known that I've wanted to move out of Virginia and like do just something more with my life. And I think that's kind of why I just decided to go and do it. Like, I just feel like I've wanted to kind of experience everything in life. And I think that's kind of like the push or whatever, why I'm kind of like, you know, okay, like, even if I'm scared, like, you know, I'm like a person, I got like $50, I'm like, that's enough. Like, just that's okay. No, I literally did. I think when I was moving to Paris, so like in Paris, I only had 1,500 USD in my account. Like, that was it. And I was like, I never thought that I would actually have enough money to like stay. To stay, but then it just happened, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like go there. I have a few months, it'll be fun. And then it just like worked out that I stayed for like 6 or 7 years or something like that. Or, I don't know how long it was, but it was like, you know.
I'm just South African for that. This is an adventure, being in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly.
No more. No.
Yeah, exactly. And then when COVID hit, and like I was like, okay, I need to like, Paris is like, they're messing with my administration stuff, because I don't know if you guys know about French administration, but they be playing with your girl. So I was sitting on my adoptive sister's bed, and I was sitting at my adoptive friend's parents' house, and I was like, a voice had moved to Korea. So I was like, so the next week I like sent an email, and then I had an interview, and then like 2 weeks later I was gone. Really? And I only had 300 euros in my account.
And you went to Korea?
And I went, and that was it. I had 300 euros.
How was that like?
But just like the whole concept of like, you know, like, well, because I had to pay my visa fees, and I was like, and each time they would email me, oh, you gotta pay this, and I was like, my bank account get really low. And then I didn't get paid because I got a job in Korea, and I didn't get paid for the first month of living there. So I had.
So what was the job?
I was a teacher in Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why were you not paid?
Because you have to work a month usually before getting paid. I get paid for the whole month, because I just started the job. So then I was like eating ramen. Like, I was like, this rice is delicious. Like, I was like struggling. I was like really sad, and I was like, okay. I was sitting there like calling my grandma. I was like, grandma. I was a little bit like, you know, like second guessing my decision, but like, you know.
But it was fun.
It was fun. It worked out, you know, great. You know, I'm a fighter. It doesn't matter if I'm poor. I'm a stay.
Yeah. But what was the culture shock for you there?
The culture shock wasn't really that huge of a deal. I think like I think it's because most of my life I've been like, you know, kind of like the other, like used to being like the other. So I think like that whole situation of like being.
So what is it that we don't know about Korea that? Because we only see like social media, like I said, with everything.
What is it that you don't know about Korea? I mean, what do you know about Korea? I guess that would be the actual thing. Like, what did you know about Korea? What's the idea? Are you asking about like being black, or like what are you asking?
Yeah, I would say about, you know, like being, because for me, the idea from what I see, I think I'll be very like lonely and isolated. Yeah. I don't think I'll meet a lot of black people.
Well, I don't think you would meet a lot of black people. I think you would meet a few of them, but you'd have to like really search for them. And I think that you really do have to be okay with being alone. I mean, but like that's okay with me. Like that's fine with me. It doesn't matter. Like I don't wait for anybody to go anywhere. That's the thing.
No,
like
I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if you wait for people to like, you're gonna miss out a lot on life. So I just will not, you know.
So what did you learn from the kids?
From the kids, okay, so my kids are like amazing. Like I had the best class.
I saw the pictures like,
Really?
when I was talking to you. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
the kids are like the best or whatever, because I think that, like, you know, my class had a very, you know, unique take to it, because I was in charge of creating a lot of the curriculum and everything. So like my class, I'm an artist, so my class was like,
It was a fun one.
exactly. So
You're the fun
exactly,
teacher.
exactly. Everybody loved my class, you know, and even my after school class, my tutoring class, like everybody loved to have me, because I am a very, you know, like open person. But I think, like, you know, I was there at a time when I was like really struggling, like, you know, losing my job in Paris, you know, from like COVID and stuff. So I was really struggling, and then like these kids kind of like, you know, really helped me to like, you know, feel good about myself and really feel like, you know, like I am making a difference in their lives. Like, you know, to go from like not speaking English at all and then like to go from the end to like reading and writing in English was like, you know, in the span of 12 months.
Wow.
Was like, you
well,
know.
I need to talk to you because I'm trying to teach my kids my language.
Okay.
Like Xhosa. So how do you teach like a child another language when they are so, I mean, your students were dominated with like Korean.
Yeah.
And then now for like the 6 hours, you have to teach them. Like, where do you start?
Well, it's a lot longer than 6 hours. Everybody knows the Korean school system is a bit extreme. So, yes, it's a bit longer than 6
How long?
hours. So, like 10 to 6.
I need to move to Korea.
It's usually how the school works, you know what I mean? But like, so I think you just have to, like, the class sizes were small enough that you could like come down to each child and figure out how they learn, right? And I played a lot of games, and I'm a theater person. I'm an actress, you know, so like, you know, I try to like, you know, push the whole like theater games and like that experience with like working with Massive Theater Company and them teaching me like devised work and creating their whole thing and like the thing is, what I did a lot of it was I created kind of this like family or this like tribe within the classroom. And because I created that, I really focused on, you know, supporting the kids to do what they wanted to do and, like, you know, how they learned. And if someone was, like, making fun of them or laughing or something, like, then I was just, you know, like, I would nip it right there. Because it had to be a safe space for kids to, like, make mistakes. And that, to me, is, like, the biggest thing. I think, like, school is, like, an important place for kids to learn, but it's more important for kids to make mistakes, actually. And to fail forward. I think if kids are afraid to make mistakes, then they're not going to learn because they're not going to try. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Like
in my situation where they understand 100% what I'm telling them, and then they will go do it. So not knowing like how to respond. Do you think the language is just there? They just get maybe to make a mistake or pronounce words wrong?
Well, I think so. I think probably what it is like maybe they're having like a brain overload, maybe like a little bit of their brain is going like king, king, king. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of like what it is.
I don't want to say it, I don't want to pronounce it wrong
because I think so too, because like even with me in French, like, you know, like I'll go out drinking one time and there'll be like a time where my brain will switch and like I can't go back. I can't go back to English. You know what I mean? Like it just, and then like, you know, and then I'll sober up and I'll come back, but like other than there, it's just like I don't know, the brain has a way of like switching and things like that. So
okay. And then dating, how was it in Korea?
All right.
Was it any different too? Because you've lived like in.
Was it any dating in Korea? Okay, so all right, this is a hard topic. Okay, so I dated a few like military, like American men in Korea. I dated a few of them, but then like dating Korean men is a whole different thing because I think like there is a huge cultural difference, right? I think because a lot of Korean women will date black men, right? There's not, in my personal opinion, I haven't seen that many Korean men date black women, right? Like, not saying that they won't do it. I'm just saying like it's just not like a huge thing, right? But I've seen a lot of Korean men date Korean. I mean, black men date Korean women. Like, I've seen it. But like the thing is, I think that the Korean man, when they're not dating. You know, Korean women are like strong, you know what I mean? They're like heads of the household and they don't take anything from anybody, right? And then I think the way in which you see a Korean man react to their wife who is a Korean woman, it's very different than how you see them react to a foreigner. Because I feel like the way in which they see kind of like foreign people that they're not really into. I don't really think it's such a huge thing of being black or anything. I think it's more of a. I do think that yes, white women are more accepted and more considered beautiful and things like that. So like, yes, there's that aspect. But I think the bigger issue within a Korean man and a foreigner is the cultural difference. That makes sense. I don't really think. I think like color matters, but I don't really think it matters as much as it would.
Culture.
Yeah, as much as the cultural differences. Like I don't really see color as a huge kind of like thing in Korea. I say that yes, white women are more accepted because they see more of them on TV. They see they're more introduced to like white women. But I think that when you're not really introduced to something, it's not really like a question really. It's not really an issue. So I think that you're more interested in. I think the cultural differences are more the issue than race or anything like that. Because I don't really think it like occurs to them. Like, oh, she's black. I don't think they think about it.
But just like won't happen naturally.
Yeah, exactly.
As it would for like a white woman.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it in America, but
those one would have been maybe born in America.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like those are American people, so it's not really a cultural issue. Yeah. But I mean, I've seen it, but not as how do you say? Like it's just not as popular.
Because the military men are there to service.
What'd you say?
I'm saying the military men are there to service.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's the thing. So like, and then the military men are there, and they're only for a fling, really. Yeah, I feel like I just feel like it's not.
I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
It's a fling. It's a fling. It's never. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe you can lock someone down. They're always down to get married for the benefits, but I feel like it's just a fling. Like maybe that's just me. I used to not be able to sing at all.
Maybe there's hope for me.
No, when I was younger, and then I started voice lessons, and I grew up. My grandfather was like really into like jazz and these types of things. Yeah. Then I started like classical music training with my voice, and obviously I'm not a classical singer. But then I started to like find my own sound and like playing the guitar.
Once you left college and everything.
No, this was in like middle school.
Oh,
like like I've always been singing, but like in like church choir and stuff like that. But I really didn't get like a voice until like middle school and stuff like that. Like it just wasn't really like a thing. I started like voice lessons, and then I started to like when I went to Duke Ellington, like people there can sing, girl. I was too scared to even open my mouth because everybody was like so amazing at singing. So and then when I went to like college, university, is when I really kind of like started taking it like really seriously. I'd already been like writing songs or whatever and things, but then I started like in college to like take it really seriously. But I lived in New York, and I think I didn't really kind of like capitalize on being in New York during that time. I was mostly focused on acting and not really too much on music. And then when I went to Toronto in Canada is when I started to like record music and like really kind of work on that. So I guess the genre would be like acoustic soul or like soulful rock would be, it's usually what I tell people, but it's usually like my own kind of like genre that I've like meshed together. It's kind of like me as a person put into music, I guess, So the reason why I actually moved to Paris and started singing was because I had a friend called his name is Sean Nagata, and he's from Chicago originally, or maybe from Hawaii originally, but he moved to Chicago, and he was doing these like showcases, and he actually moved to Berlin. And he was, how do you say, putting on these showcases, right? And he invited me to do one in Chicago. And then he moved to Berlin. And I was like, okay, well, I'll move to Paris and it'll be fine. And we'll like still do showcases. So my first showcase was actually in Berlin because Sean was putting on showcases. And he kind of like pushed me to do like, shows and to really perform live. Because I really wasn't doing that in New York City. And so he was the reason why I like started to perform live, and then I booked a show in Copenhagen, and then since then I've just been performing.
So you do like solo now?
Yeah, right now I'm just a solo artist. It's just me and my guitar on the stage, really.
And also you have an upcoming show like in Scotland?
No, I don't have an upcoming show in Scotland. I'm playing in Copenhagen in July. July 9th. I'll be playing. and this will be my second show in Copenhagen, so I'm doing that. Yeah.
So did you get like a good turn up in Copenhagen? Is that why you're going back to the?
Well, it's just because I've been performing at like kind of like smaller hostels and like building up my platform and things like that. So that's like the biggest reason why I'm performing in Copenhagen. I really like Copenhagen as a city. It's a fun city, especially if you feel like jazz and like soul music. So I've gotten a good response from playing there, and just the audience is really cool. So yeah, I'm just going there for that.
And hopefully you'll move here.
To play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm really.
I mean, in this venue, it's a great venue.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Maybe, but like I don't know if this like venue is for my music.
No.
We'll see. But right now I'm playing just some like open mics, kind of like starting from scratch again because I moved to a new city and like kind of starting to do that. Maybe apply to do some other shows, some other places, and I'm not very good at playing shows in the city where I live because friends will all come and see.
You don't want your friends to come.
I'm just not that good at it. I'm not that good at being like the after show. I'm like, oh my gosh, Michaela, you're so great. Like I hate that whole like thing. So I usually play like outside of where I'm living, but you never know. I mean, I've just been here like not even a month and a half, so we'll see.
So in Copenhagen, you don't have any like friends over there?
I have a few acquaintances, but they're not friends. Like, like yeah, to
It's safe.
Yeah, exactly. So like they may come, but then they'll just send me a message. I don't talk to them daily. Like that's the difference,
And it's safe for you to grow as well. And then when you're comfortable, then you can be like, okay, come, bring everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like just playing in other countries, like I definitely want to introduce my music to like every market there is, and the best way to do that is to like tour and to go and allow people to see you and see what you're doing. And even if I play a show in a country and I get like one follower or one person that's interested, that's a big thing for me because I'm not really like looking to make a lot of money for like music. If I do, that's fine. But I'm saying like for me, the biggest thing is making music that sounds like me, and that's the biggest reason why I do music. So.
And over here, like your film stuff, like what are you hoping to do like after your PhD?
So I don't really know what I'm hoping to do while I'm doing my PhD or after I do my PhD. My biggest thing is to finish my research, get my degree, and to work on my acting and like get my like film reel and things going. And that's kind of like I'm more of a step-by-step kind of person, a small step kind of person. So that's kind of like why I'm.
Would you go back though, like home? Or it's not in like
where?
To America.
Oh.
It's not on the cards yet.
No,
You're more like.
Yeah,
you go to Africa, man.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I don't really see myself going back to the U.S. But I mean, I'm not really in control. God is in control. But if I can persuade God not to allow me to go back there, I'm just gonna do whatever I need to do that.
Why is that?
I just feel like there's just so much more of the world to see except for America, right? We live in such a huge world, right? So I would like to explore that rather than to just stay in one place, really.
But what do you think of like, I mean, you guys have been trending. If it's not Johnny Depp's trial, and then it's like the gun, like gun control. What do you think about that?
About the Johnny Depp trial?
That, and then the guns, the gun control.
America's just a mess right now, but I think you do kind of like carry that burden as you're like an American outside of the country, and everyone asks you questions like this of like, how do you feel about this? The Johnny Depp trial is just basically a guy who was like lied on by a white woman that was like trying to take advantage of like being married to Johnny Depp, and I think that he sued her not really for the money. He sued her to like because cancel culture is such a huge thing now, like right. So like if you do one thing or if you're accused of something, right?
I always had a problem with that. Like if I come, like if you're a famous person and I'm like, oh, Michaela did that, and then you cancel tomorrow. What happened to being like innocent until you're proven guilty?
Exactly. So I think that's the biggest thing about that is that is he sued her, I think, more so to get his name back and to prove that she was wrong. I think that was what it is, and it's a sad thing that you have to deal with that daily and stuff like that, because in today's world, because now it's not you're innocent until you're proven guilty. If someone says something, you've already done it, basically.
Yeah.
As far as the gun laws, I just feel like America just is very nonchalant about guns. They just don't really care that much about the children, because if they did, they would have done something to stop it. There's been a lot of gun violence, a lot of mass shootings that doesn't happen in any other country in the world, right? It only happens in the United States. And the United States government continues to be like, people should be able to have their gun and things like this. But if you look at the gun control issue, most of the people who have done these shootings and things like that have been people who are mentally ill, who have been people who have not been background checked when they've gotten guns and things like that. So that is a problem that can be fixed very easily. And I feel like the American government is more focused on the idea of appeasing people and their feelings, and not so much focusing on people and their children, because obviously I feel like the American government has chosen that they don't care.
And also, I mean, if you're explaining it to someone from outside, like, is it like really like your everyday American feels like they should be carrying guns?
Not your everyday American, but I feel like Americans do feel that they should be allowed to carry guns, because there's this whole thing.
Yeah, what's the obsession though?
I think it's just a historical thing of like, oh, I need to like have a gun to protect myself. If someone comes and attacks me, I need to protect myself. But I think that what people don't realize is that when you have a gun, your mentality changes, right? It's like, if you mess with me, I'll just go get my gun. If you don't have that mentality, you're not gonna be like, okay, let me just go get, like, you know what I mean? When you have something like that in your arsenal, you're just very much, like your attitude changes. You become a bit more like, you feel a bit more like invincible, right?
Yeah.
I'll just pull a gun and I'll shoot you. Like, that's kind of like the difference. I understand no one else in the world understands this idea of America and their guns, But
no. Because in South Africa, if you have a gun, I mean, you're either like a police person or you want to commit a crime. Not like your everyday. I've never even seen a gun in my life.
Yeah, America, it's like if you're a good citizen, you have a gun. Like, that's like kind of like what it is.
Only the criminals don't have guns.
Well,
it's like the other way around.
So the criminals do have guns, and that's like white people. They're like, if he has a gun, I get to have a gun. But that's kind of like what it is. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. If you're a criminal and you armed, I should be armed too.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
And us, as I would say, good citizens, like in South Africa, you are caught like unarmed every time because the criminals have the guns. It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, that whole like right to carry only really applies to white people.
Where in South Africa?
In America, because white people are allowed to like have their guns or whatever, and like black people, it's like he might have a gun, therefore I need to shoot him just because he might have one.
Yeah.
It's like he could. Did he have a gun? He could have had one, but did he have one? But he could have had one.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like
we find out
exactly. You shot him. He didn't have a gun. No, but he could have had one. That's the whole thing. It's like one of those things. I think America's like so ridiculous. I watched a video of a guy who didn't have any legs or whatever, and they like put him in like handcuffs. They were like holding him down and everything, and the police station like released the video. They're like, it was the right force, and everyone else like outside of America was like, this is crazy. You shouldn't treat people like that. And then like this like police police force released a statement saying, just because someone doesn't have legs doesn't mean they can't have a weapon. It's one of those things of like they're like he could have taken off his prosthetic legs and hit someone with it. Like, it was like an actual thing. So you have to like think about like someone actually thought that was a good idea to like go and do something.
Yeah, and even after like the school shooting, there was like an incident like yesterday where like I think this guy had an operation, like a back pain, and then they went to have an operation, and they thought like the doctor could have given them more medication or something like that. They went out and got a gun and shot a doctor and a couple of people in the hospital. I don't know if you've heard about that.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And still nothing is happening.
But I just feel like America's like, okay, we'll send thoughts and prayers, but we won't actually do anything.
Yeah, and I've heard like one of the governors, they said, oh, we just need to come up with like some sort of law that will go together with the Second Amendment. I'm like, you know.
I mean, or just get stricter gun laws. That would be because like I'm from a state where you don't have to have a gun license to get a gun. You just can go to Walmart when you're 18 to show your ID.
I need to go to America to believe this.
No, really. In Virginia, you need a license to conceal your weapon, but you don't need a license to carry. You can just buy a gun.
Oh,
As long as it's registered, put it. As long as people can see it, you're good at the age of 18.
So in your state, you don't even need the license to buy one?
No, you don't need it.
It just need to be 18 years?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even think you need to be 18 sometimes. You have to check that, but I'm pretty sure you don't have to be 18 yet.
And so these are some of the things that you are finding out, like being outside of America, like being like traveling, and you're like, wow, there's a whole lot of.
Well, I think it's funny. Like I just did a film with this director, and his dad was there, and they went to Florida one time, and they went to Walmart, and they could touch the guns and feel the guns and everything. He's Scottish, and then he went to the liquor store to buy some beer, and his kids tried to come in, and they were like, no, you can't bring the kids in, right? And like the Scottish people were like, you just allowed my kid to hold a gun, but to get a liquor, you like freaked out right now. So they were like, what's 1 + 1 is not equaling 2 right now. So it was an interesting situation.
It's strange.
And like them asking me, I'm like, I don't go here. Like, I'm not a I don't know. Like, what do you want me to say? So I can't really answer all of these questions for America, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean, you're less American now. You've been out, so.
I don't know what I am. I'm a Martian, I like to tell people.
Anyways, and so on how and where can people find you and what you're doing now and your websites and stuff.
So I will be performing in the
Copenhagen.
Edinburgh Fringe Festival in August. I will be performing in a show called Chicago. I will be playing in Copenhagen in July, which is next month because it's June now, and I need to go practice. And everyone can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Michaela Dene. Dene, Desnai. It's not Dasani, it's Dene. As some people would like to say, my name is Dene, but not Dasani.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. We had some great food, some interesting beer.
What did you think of Savannah?
It was. I mean, it's a cider. Like everybody's like, this is from Nigeria. It's a beer. It's like it's a beer.
But I'm like Savannah.
So then I mean, it's a cider. It's good. I mean,
I drink 2 of those and I'm just like,
I'm a tank.
I drink 2 Savannahs. I'm like,
I'm a tank, honestly. Like I feel like I can drink most people under the table. Takes a lot.
Thank you so much.
The way that dark thing should be light in between the shadows.